Hi, this is John Reynolds, Solomon Colors and Brickform. I'm here with Todd Rose today, and what we're going to be talking about is our blush tone acid stain. Blush tone acid stain is a chemically reactive stain. Stain gets into the surface of the concrete and chemically reacts with the free lime of the surface to create a permanent color change. It's not a pigment-based stain, it's totally reactive, so we're totally dependent upon the concrete slab as to how our stain is going to turn out. So today, we've got a typical basement floor application. What I'm going to do now, we're going to walk around the slab, show you some of the things that you can run up against when you're talking about doing an acid stain, either for yourself or for a customer.
As we survey the floor, you can see a number of blemishes. These were from when the concrete was poured on the main level and bleed water leaked through the forms and onto the floor. These are permanent marks and will only come out with grinding. The power trowel marks are also permanent. Same with these burnish marks from the steel from the power trowel. All of these will show through the acid stain, and the applicator must be aware of how these will impact the final appearance. This dark spot is some sort of contaminant actually in the mix, possibly from the pump when the concrete was placed. And again, there's more trowel marks here. This blob is from the insulation was sprayed. This product is very hard now, and we will scrape the material off, but it will still leave a blemish in the final product. Also notable are more trowel marks in areas where the power trowel didn't get, like up against the wall. These will produce very different stain results. Hopefully the wall from the construction will minimize the visual impact. Finally, one of the most important steps in acid staining is sampling. This is an absolute must. You can see these samples and the process included all the way down to the sealer and the final application that was approved.
Okay, so we've shown you the acid stain project that we're getting ready to do. Surface preparation and cleaning is really very important. We always have to remember with acid stains that we want to prepare the slab for the sealer. This floor is going to get an epoxy, our deck epoxy. It's a water-based epoxy, 2-component, 37% solids coating. So one of the first things that I did was I did a calcium chloride test to make sure that there was no moisture coming through the slab. That was within the specifications for the deck epoxy. We have to profile the slab for the deck epoxy. This slab has a lot of different variations in it. It goes from power trowel to hand trowel that's smooth in some areas and pretty open in other areas. So my choice for preparing the slab today is going to be to use the E-etch. We're going to scrub that into the floor to help open up the pores. And then once we get done with our E-etch, we're going to use our NeutraClean to neutralize the floor. E-etch we're going to be putting on at about 150 square feet per gallon. So I've got 8 gallons here, and we've got about 1,000 square feet. So we should be pretty much in the ballpark for the right quantity to put down for that. Once we get done E-etching, we're going to use our NeutraClean. We're going to put 4 ounces of NeutraClean in per gallon of water so that we get a good neutralizing cleaner. Then we'll start in with our floor scrub. We're going to be using a floor scrubber, a rotary floor scrubber with that heavy-duty nylon bristle brush attachment. We'll follow it up by immediately wet vacuuming the material up. It's a good high-quality water vacuum so that you don't have problems with leftover water and residue on the floor. It's very important to have a good high-quality wet vac for that situation.
Always mask any areas as needed. This basement is obviously not finished, but if it were, we would thoroughly mask and protect the entire project.
Okay, so since we're using the blush tone acid stain and it's got hydrochloric acid in it, one of the things that we're doing is we're putting bags and stuff over any electronics that are down here, just so that we don't have the hydrochloric acid gas get in and ruin the electronics. So that's what we're doing with these. And some other electronics that are over on the other side. We've got them covered up with plastics just to make sure. And if there's any metals around, if you have door thresholds or any type of specialized metals, you always want to protect those whenever you're doing acid stain. The other thing we're going to do to help get rid of the hydrochloric acid is we're going to ventilate. Always ventilate properly whenever you're doing an acid stain job. That way the gases don't overwhelm you. Okay, so we've set up a mixing station here. This mixing station is away from our project because as we're mixing and pouring our acid stain, we don't want that to go onto our project. We've got our board down here to make sure that we don't get any unwanted stains on this part of the floor either. So we're going to do that. We're going to mix up our product. We're going to pour it into our sprayers. These are acid-resistant sprayers. They are designed to take hydrochloric acid-based products. In this situation, this is a high-performance cleaning degreaser type sprayer, which on the list of products that said it could use in it was hydrochloric acid. So we've got these. We're set up with 2 of these and several small sprayers as well. So we're going to get ready. We're going to mix up our product and then get to applying. Okay, so in the sampling that we did, I determined that a 50-50 blend of the ebony stain with water is what this floor is going to take to get the desired effect for the customer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I've got these 2 buckets already with 2 gallons of water in them. So I'm going to add 2 gallons of stain to each bucket. These 4 gallons here are all the same lot number, so I don't have any problem as far as having to intermix them. But when we get to our blue, which I'll show you here in a minute, we're going to have to intermix because I have 2 different lot numbers. Okay, since I've got 3 gallons of the turquoise acid stain, this is an older one that I had in my shop, wanted to get rid of it. One thing, because it is a little bit older, I want to mix this with the other 2 lots to make sure that I have color uniformity across the slab when it comes to stains. So whenever you're out on a job, if you have different lot numbers of these stains, make sure that you mix them all together. Todd and I are getting ready to put down the acid stain now. I did the sampling, and this is a small bathroom area. There's going to be a lot of cabinets and stuff in here. So Todd and I are going to use this area as our quote-unquote experimentation area to where we get our technique down so that when we come out into the main floor, we have a very good system going for applying product, scrubbing it in. Todd, you can see Todd has a broom. We want to scrub this stain in and then re-stain over it. We want to do that so that we make sure that we have a nice uniform finish over the entire floor. So we're going to get started. So I'll spray some blue, Todd. Spray some black. Scrub it up. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the look. All right, so we're here on day 2 of our acid stain job. You can see the floor is dried out now. It's got a lot of residue on it though, and that's common with the acid staining process. So it's really important not to look at this as a finished product right now. When I look down and I feel this, you can see, probably not on camera, but I've got a lot of residue on my glove, and that's common because when the acid stains chemically react with the free lime at the surface of the concrete, they create salts that come to the surface. So we are only halfway through this project. We've still got another application of the acid stain that we're going to do. And then once we let that react for a few hours, then we're going to come in and rinse and really scrub this residue off. So this is common. This is the way it's supposed to look. Sometimes you'll see some spots that are still a little wet and kind of greasy looking. That's common too. But we are still only halfway through this job. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to scrub a little corner. This is going to be covered up by a bathtub, so I just want to check out and see how our stain reacted. So I've just got some water and an acid scrub brush. I'm just going to take it and remove some of the residue to see what my reaction was like when we stained yesterday. This is, once I remove the residue and it's wet, it's going to give me an idea of what it's going to look like once it's stained, or sealed, sorry. Not a bad reaction. I think we can do a little better, so we're going to do a second application of the stain, really so that we can get a little more color intensity, get it more of that look that we got in our sample. Took 2 applications in our sample, 2 applications on the floor. That'll get us the floor we're after. Okay, so I got my stain ready. I've got 2 sprayers here, one with turquoise and then one with olive, because I determined during the sampling process that on the second application I was going to use olive as an additional layer of color. So I'm just going to lightly spritz this down, lightly spritz the turquoise down, and then Todd is going to follow me with the 50-50 blend of ebony and water. Okay, so one thing that you really want to do before you get out on the job is to make sure that your spray fan is the way you want it. You don't want to go out there and shoot a straight line of stain, because that'll really mess up your project when you're doing the marbleizing. So always spray into your bucket first. Get your tip dialed in exactly the way you want it before you go out on the job. Okay, so what we got going on now is we've got our second application of stain. It's mostly dried out. During the sampling phase, I left the second coat of stain on for about 2 hours, which is right about when we finished about 2 hours ago. So I'm going to come back now. We're going to neutralize with our NutriClean. We're going to put about 4 to 6 ounces of NutriClean in per gallon of water. We're going to spread that out over the floor. Then we're going to take our floor scrubber and we're going to start removing this residue. This is one of the most important processes with the acid staining process, because if we don't get this residue off the surface, our sealer's not going to bond to the concrete and it's going to come off. So what we're doing now, very, very important. We're going to neutralize the slab, we're going to scrub it, we're going to wet back it up, then we're going to rinse it, and we're going to scrub it again, vacuum it up, and probably do that 3 times to make sure that we don't have any residue left on this slab. Next to surface preparation, this is one of the most key components of acid staining. Very, very important. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, so Todd and I have been removing the residue from this acid stain project. I just want to remind people that residue can cause a lot of problems. So pay close attention to the edges. Really make sure that you get get all that residue off of there, because what can happen is when you get the sealer down on there, after a few weeks it's going to turn white and it's going to look ugly. So make sure that you spend a lot of time on those edges getting them clean and getting them residue free. Okay, so we're here at our acid stain job, day 3. We've been drying out the floor all night. We've done a walkthrough with the homeowner. There's a couple areas that they would like us to address, a couple areas that they knew about that we talked about at the beginning of the video. With the Pro Dye, again, we're not gonna cover this. We just want to get it to blend in a little bit better. And the Pro Dye has a little bit of residue, so once you get done spraying, we're just taking a rag and just lightly taking off any residue that may be left over from the Pro Dye where we spray. Don't want to spray too much. All we're doing is just getting a little extra color on here to help it blend in just a little better. It's not going to hide it again. So light touch. So we're back at our job site. It's day number 4. We've done our touch-ups. We allowed the floor to dry out an extra day because we had a lot of moisture down here in the basement, and we also are using a 2-component epoxy that's actually going to form a coating over the surface. It's not going to be breathable. So we really wanted to make sure that we had all the moisture out of the floor. Very important when you're using a coating to make sure that the floor is properly dried out before you go and install this product. We're going to be using our deck epoxy, which is a 2-component, 37% solids, water-based epoxy. It's going to go on with a whitish haze, and it's going to dry clear, and it's going to give us a real nice finish for this basement floor. So this is our deck epoxy. We're going to start out with 2 kits. We have about 1,100 square feet here, and these kits are going to give us about 400 square feet per kit. So we're going to see how far this goes. We may get an extra 100 square feet per kit because it is a basement floor, it's a trowel finish. Sometimes we're going to get less if we have a more porous surface, but we're going to mix up 2 kits. So I've got my part A, my part B, I've got some stir sticks. We're going to be using a microfiber roller cover today. These allow the product to lay down really nice. This is about a 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch nap microfiber roller. The material on this doesn't shed, and it allows the product to really lay down nice and smooth when we're rolling it. So the first thing we want to do, we're going to open up our part B's, and it's very important to mix these things up very thoroughly prior to starting the rest of the mixing process, so that all the components get together and start working together. Mix that up thoroughly. Then we'll mix up our A component. Once we mix up the A component, then we'll add everything into a clean mixing bucket. Once we mix it up in here, we're going to transfer it into a clean, another mixing bucket so that we make sure we get all of the chemicals and everything working together right. Sometimes if I put my part A in here and my part B in here, it's on the walls and it doesn't get mixed up thoroughly. That's why we want to transfer it into that second bucket to make sure that we get all the components thoroughly mixed up. When you're using the deck epoxy, it's real important not to get too much material down. And then once you've got the material down, you want to cross hatch it, like I'm doing, go in a different direction. Make sure you get a good spread on the material. Not too much material, but then not too little material. Kind of a hard fine line there. But when you go back and back roll, what you're doing is you're helping the roller lines lay down. We're back at our job site, and we're going to be using our premium acrylic floor finish, formerly known as Durawax. We're going to be putting this down at a rate of about 800 to 1,000 square feet per gallon. We'll be applying it with the microfiber squeegees. This is actually a window washing mitt, but it works very well for putting thin layers of our floor finish down.